Hi everybody, I'm at my home this morning rather than down at the studio, and I'm going to give you a little video tour of my latest garment made, just completed yesterday. This lovely kimono coat. It's from my PDF pattern coat 30, and I've modified it a little bit like I often do when I make versions of this coat, simply by making this front banding a little bit narrower than the actual pattern. That's incredibly flexible, the width of that band. Really obviously simple, straightforward little modification. Now this coat is made entirely from pieces of leftover samples of furnishing fabrics. I'm very fortunate that I have a connection with a lady who runs a business making curtains, cushions, furnishing pieces, and she passes on her sample pieces and cards and leftover remnants to me when she's finished. So all these fabrics in here are very high-end, mostly imported Italian furnishing fabrics. Turn a little bit to show you. This coat has got a lot of shears in it. I've used a lot of sheer fabrics. This kind of very open weave cotton fabric is a lovely thing. And there are many linen pieces in here which are also quite sheer, along with some that are like on an organza background with the decorative stitching on, as in this piece here. And then we've got this lovely embroidered satin here with the heavy stitching on it. I've used in several places around the coat. On the shoulders, this was a practical decision to make that big patch, like almost like a yoke up there on the shoulders, because that's the area that will get a lot of wear, and it needs to be a pretty durable piece of textile up there. This is the full length of the back of the coat. I've made this the longest length version of my coat 30, because it can also be made into shorter versions or even a jacket version. Now this textile obviously is a patchwork. I've patched together, sort of selected out of my bundle of remnants, all these coordinating colours and fabric types in advance of making the coat, and then I've patched them all together, and then I covered the seams with these narrow tapes like this in a very primitive way. As you can see, I have left the exposed raw edges, something I'm prone to do. Those of you who might have followed my work for a while know that I just love frayed edges. And when I had completed this coat, and I have used this technique of covering the seams before in a similar way, I suddenly realised this is actually very similar, I'm presuming it's similar anyway, I may be wrong, to a traditional Korean technique called Bojagi or Bojagi, in which they use quite sheer fabrics and they cover the seams with tapes like this. But I'm assuming they would do it in a much more clean fashion. They probably don't allow these frayed edges that I'm so fond of. But honestly, I have never, although I'm aware of the technique, Bojagi or Bojagi, I believe, I'm not sure what the exact pronunciation is, I've never actually taken a class in it, read a book about it, studied it, or I really don't know technically how it's done. But I just wanted to acknowledge that some people might think, because I have been on occasion accused of cultural appropriation, you're welcome, go for it if you want to accuse me of that. But I did realise after putting this together that it does resemble that traditional Korean technique. But it's quite coincidental in the case of my making this coat. And of course, always ever so useful whenever you can get them, the big deep patch pockets one on either side of the fronts. The sleeves, they're made doubled over so that they're actually effectively lined on the inside. That's for durability, of course, and they're long enough that a little cuff can be turned back on them. Now, I have got a huge amount of these fantastic furnishing fabrics. Many of them are not sheer at all. Some of them are quite heavily embroidered and very opaque. But because it's summertime here, I was inspired to make a more of a summer weight coat. However, I shall be making some more patchwork style coats like this into the future to use up some of that fantastic resource I have been accumulating, these beautiful furnishing fabrics. I really like using them too because furnishing fabrics, they're so durable. You know, they're made to last, they're made to be really tough, because they often have, especially for things like cushions or bed covers, they have to endure a lot of handling, possibly a lot of cleaning. I wouldn't put this in the washing machine, but it's definitely quite robust enough to be hand washed. Yeah, so the furnishing fabrics, if you can get a hold of a source, they can make really fabulous art to wear garments. You don't have to just confine them to cushions or quilt covers or such things. They are just fine for making into wearable clothing. Okay, so I think I've given you a pretty good tour, a pretty good chat about the making of this garment, and I really hope it might serve to inspire some more making out there. Bye bye.